Hey, what's up guys? My name is Daniel Lopez with Invest in You Finance, and today we're going to be talking about my story and how I was able to quit my corporate job at 34 years old and accumulate over $1.5 million in net worth in less than 10 years. So it all started when I got hired with Baker Hughes. And Baker Hughes is a oil field service company. I had just graduated from college with a mechanical engineering degree, and this was going to be my first job entering the workforce right out of college. I was super excited. And the way that the recruiter explained the job position was I was going to be a field specialist level 1. And I would be traveling about 50% of the time or more, and I was going to be working 24/7 on call, which at the time it was okay with me because I was young and I was ready to make as much money as I can, as fast as possible, and get out there and start working. So I started this job. Right away I found out that this company was great because they were paying me a salary and they were also paying me a day rate. So I got a $30,000 base salary, and every day that I worked, I was getting a day rate of $30. And I knew that if I worked as much as I could while I was young, I could save up enough money so that I wouldn't have to work in the future. I started off telling myself, I want to save $1 million and I want to try and do it in less than 10 years. I was 25 when I graduated, and it took me 5.5 years to get my degree. I told myself, I want to have $1 million by the time I'm 35. And with this job, I think I can do it because I get a base salary plus every day that I work, I get a day rate. And I have no schedule, meaning that I work from when we start drilling to when we finish drilling. And we're drilling for either oil or gas. So the recruiter was telling me that basically I can be at the location for a week up to 2 weeks. But when I started the job, I quickly came to realize I can be at a job from either a week up to like 45 days. And that meant that I would be stuck at this location in the middle of nowhere, working, day after day, working shift work, which shift work means I'll be working 12-hour shifts either at night or during the day. But since I was barely starting out, I would be training during the day, and then at night would be the night person who would be working from 6 to 6 at night. And we would stay there until we finished the job. I was excited, and I knew that I could reach $1 million in less than 10 years if I work really hard. And by working really hard, that means that I'm gonna be working every day, because the more I worked, the more I was gonna get paid. So I told my dad about my goal, and he said, well, why don't we, reverse calculate it and figure out, if I wanna make $1 million in 10 years, how much money every month do I have to invest? And we figured out this is how much you have to save every month. That amount was pretty big, but what was amazing about this job was that I didn't have to pay rent when I was out there working in the oil field, because I was living on location in the middle of nowhere in double wide trailers, and the company was paying for my lodging. This was a huge benefit because I didn't have to pay rent. And I was still living with my parents at the time, because there was no point in me getting a place when I was working 25 days a month. I would be working so much that I thought, if I'm only gonna be home for 5 days, I'm just gonna live with my parents and I'm just gonna save as much money as I could. That's what I did. So I worked as much as I could, and I saved and I invested all my money. The company was a great company. They had a great program, the field specialist program, which I was a part of. I started off as a field specialist number 1, and as I progressed in my career, I was able to get my salary increased and get my day rate increased. The great thing about the company was that they pretty much had a recipe on how to get your promotion, and it was a self-paced promotion system. If you wanted to get promoted, all you had to do was follow this recipe, which just had, a bunch of trainings, a bunch of classes within the company, and you just had to learn some of the equipment. Once you met the criteria for your promotion, then your manager would promote you. Sometimes you would have to give presentations and things like that, but it was pretty much all self-paced. So right away, I thought that this was, amazing, because it was in line with my goal, which was to make as much money as I could, as fast as I could, in the shortest amount of time, investing my money and saving my money. So I started off as a field specialist level 1. Quickly, I became a level 2 within 6 months, and then I became a level 3 in a year. And in 3 years, I became a level 5, which at the time they called it a general. I was a general for 2 years, and then I finally got promoted to a field supervisor on my 6th year, and I was a field supervisor for a year. I worked 7 years in the oil fields, and during that time I had no schedule. I worked 24/7. On average, I was working about 300 days a year, and I think the most I ever worked was maybe like 325 days in 1 year. But I was okay with it because I really liked what I was doing. I really liked that I can go to a job and then I would finish after a certain amount of time, and then I would go on to the next job. And every job and every job site had its challenges, but it was fun and it was exciting. The first 5 years I worked out in Midland, Odessa, Pecos, New Mexico. After that, I moved to Pittsburgh for 2 years, and I worked in West Virginia, I worked in Ohio, and I worked all over Pennsylvania. So I worked all over that area on the East Coast, and I did that for 2 years. So in total, I was in the field for 7 years. And the last year I was a field supervisor, and that's when I decided I need to make another move, because I was getting burnt out in the field because I was working so much. I was missing so many birthdays, so many Christmases. I was missing everything because I was on call. I never knew when I was gonna work. They would always tell me like a day or two in advance. They would give me time to get to the location. But if it was gonna be someone's birthday, I couldn't promise that person that I would be there because I was always on call. I would have to, get up, pack my bags, and go, which was okay for me because I knew that I only had to do this for a short period of time. Let's say, for example, you live to be 100 years old and you work 10 years as hard as you could. That's only 10% of your life. Let's say you only live to be 50 years old. So that's 20% of your life. I told myself, I'll just give my all for this company and work 10 years and save and make as much money as I could. After 7 years, I was burnt out from working in the field, but I saved a decent amount of money. Whenever you worked in the field, you would make more money than people working in the office. So at this point, I knew that it was time for me to go into the office. I was gonna make less money, but it was okay because I had already saved up enough money. At the time, we were transitioning from people working in the field to people working remotely. It kind of worked out perfect because they needed people to work remotely, and it was a new and up and coming thing. And I was lucky enough to have a great manager who supported me and was okay with me leaving after working 7 years in the field. I told him, hey, I want to work remote, and that's where I'm going to after I leave the field. And he said, okay, are you sure you don't want to stay in the field and work longer? And I said, no, I'm ready to try something else. And he said, okay, well, they're starting up the remote center and I think you'd be a great candidate. So why don't you go ahead and apply? So I said, great. So I applied for the remote position, and the remote position was gonna bring me back to Texas, where I'm originally from. I was living in Pittsburgh at the time. I moved from Pittsburgh back to Texas, and the remote center was located in Houston, Texas. So I moved to Houston, Texas. The whole point of moving from the field to remote was taking people out of the field and then putting them in an office. But now, instead of running just one job at a drilling site, you were gonna be running multiple jobs. I worked 7 days straight, 12 hours a day. After that, I would get 7 days off. So I worked 7 on, 7 off. And it was a great schedule because those 7 days off, I can do whatever I wanted. So that was great. I did receive a pay cut moving from the field to the office, But even though it was a pay cut, it was still a good amount of money. And it still allowed me to reach my financial goals by saving as much as I could and investing in my 401k. At this point, we're getting close to, when the pandemic started. When the pandemic was starting, we were working remotely from a location in Houston. Once the pandemic started to happen, they started to slowly move people out of the office. I worked a year from home, and I was able to roll out of bed and work from home, clock in, clock out, 12 hours a day, 7 days, and then I would be off. And during this time, I was always investing all my money, saving all my money. I'm not a big spender. The only things I spend money on are traveling, going out to eat, going out to have a few drinks and things like that. I like to spend my money on experiences, and that's okay with me. If I have to buy a pair of shoes, I try and buy expensive ones, but they will last me a long time. So that's how I kind of am with spending. I like to buy high quality things, but I like to buy things that will last me a long time. And like I said, I would rather spend my money on experiences and traveling and things like that. So I'm working from home. By this time, I have enough money saved up where I can quit my job, but I'm postponing the quitting of my job because I have benefits, I have healthcare, and things like that. During the pandemic, everyone was locked down. You would get groceries and then you would stay home and you would be home all day and you really couldn't do anything. So I was getting bored and anxious. And during this time, I listened to a lot of Gary Vee, and at the time he was talking about sports cards and things like that. So when I was younger, I would collect basketball cards, baseball cards, football cards, and all that stuff. And it was fun for me because I was young and I didn't really know anything about it. And I would have these collections of sports cards. It was just a thing that you did as a kid. So I started selling my old sports cards on eBay. So I thought, hey, why don't I turn this into a business? And why don't I build an eBay store and sell sports cards? I could sell my old sports cards, get rid of them, and then I can start looking into the market of the new sports cards. At first, I wasn't making too much money, and I was still working for Baker Hughes and working 7 days on, 7 days off. So on my spare time, I was taking pictures of the sports cards and posting them online, and I was making sales and things like that. And I was a business owner. I owned a small eBay store that was making a little bit of money, and it was fun because I learned how to create a business and how to get a business checking account. During the pandemic, I was starting this business, which was selling sports cards, and I was learning how to post things on eBay and how to deal with all the listings on eBay. It turned out to be a lot of fun. And then I start realizing that there's more money in graded sports cards, which means they're certified and you can sell them for 3 to 4 times more than just a normal card would be sold for. I'm just learning this stuff and I'm listening to Gary Vee, he's inspiring me and things like that. Well, I'm already at my financial goal of $1 million. So I'm thinking, okay, I really do not want to go back to the office if they make me go back to the office. I'm not excited working from the office when I'm capable of doing it from home. I decided, okay, I'm probably gonna quit my job this year. It was a hard decision to make because I was making good money. And the sports cards, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was just, doing it as a hobby and doing it to learn how to create a business and to go through the process and go through the motions of being a sole proprietorship. It was a hard choice to make, and I worked from home for a year up until I quit, which I quit in June 2021. The reason I quit is because my fiance is a travel nurse and her dream was to move to Hawaii and take a travel nursing assignment over here. She applied, and guess what? She got the job in Hawaii. And I knew that this is it. We're gonna quit and we're gonna go to Hawaii and I'm gonna be living financially independent. And this is gonna be the next chapter of what I'm gonna be doing. But Now I want to share my story with you guys and share how I was able to make these moves in life that helped me get to $1.5 million and helped me become financially independent in less than 10 years and working a corporate job. So that's my story. I'm now living in Hawaii and I'm going to invest in myself, and I want to create videos of how I was able to save my money, the things I did, what I invested in, my 401k, my individual stock accounts, my HSA, my SEP retirement account, my Roth IRA, all these things. And I want to be able to help anyone who's also been working for their corporate job and maybe they're thinking, hey, it's time to do something else, or maybe they want to start a business or do something like that. Well, I just want to give you my take on what worked for me and how I was able to accumulate my wealth. It might not be something that works for everyone, but at least you can see another way of how someone else has done it. Because there's so many ways online to make money now, that's crazy. But I made my money through working for corporate America, and I saved my money and I invested it. That's how I was able to build my financial independence. So that's my story, guys. And there's details that I left out, but that is basically the gist of how I created my financial independence. And I'm gonna be going over what I invested in and what strategies I was able to do to get to where I'm at. I'm here to just give you guys knowledge and help you guys reach your financial goals. Not everyone's the same and everyone's different, but I just want to share with you guys my story on how I was able to accumulate my wealth. Anyone could do it. It's just having a plan and stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. Because once you realize that working really hard or doing something for a certain amount of time, it kind of shows you that, hey, a year, that's not a long time. But if you want to get something accomplished, it's gonna take time to get there. Just like my videos, just like me posting things online. This is one of my first videos and I'm not yet used to all this, so I'm just trying to do my best. And I know that, with time and with repetition and experience, that my videos will get better and my content will get better. So bear with me. I'm trying my best and I'm learning along the way. Let's work together. And if you guys have any questions, please comment below. And hopefully I can bring a lot of value to you guys. I just wanted to say thank you guys. I appreciate everything. Please like and subscribe and check out my other videos. There should be more coming pretty soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.